All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something you probably do, I don't know, a dozen times a day without even thinking about it. Looking in the mirror. But what if I told you that simple act, that stare down with your own reflection, is one of the strangest and maybe one of the most powerful tools you have for actually rewiring your brain?
And I don't mean just, checking if you've got spinach in your teeth. I mean really looked, like actually holding your own gaze for more than a few seconds.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Picture this. It's late, the house is quiet, you're in the bathroom, and for some reason you just stare into the mirror. For the first few seconds, it's totally normal. It's just you. But then, something starts to shift, doesn't it? That face looking back at you starts to feel, well, a little less like you and a little more like someone else. And that kind of weird, slightly uncomfortable feeling, that's actually where all the good stuff begins.
So, to really get why this all feels so strange, we actually have to go way back, like all the way back, to the very first time we ever met that person in the mirror. So, check this out. When we're little babies, we're basically like kittens pawing at a mirror. We see our reflection and think, hey, a new friend. But then, somewhere around 18 months, 2 years old, something amazing happens. It's called the rouge test. A scientist will sneak a little dot of lipstick on our nose, and for the first time, when we look in the mirror, we don't poke the mirror. We touch our own nose. Boom, that's it. That's the moment we realize, that's me. But here's the kicker. As we grow up, that pure, simple recognition gets hijacked by something else, something a whole lot heavier. Judgment.
Yeah, think about that shift for a second. We go from a toddler's simple, factual thought, oh, hey, that's me, I exist, to this constant running commentary as adults. Is that really me? Am I okay? Is my hair weird? Am I good enough? The mirror stops being a tool for discovery and becomes, for a lot of us, a tool for self-critique.
Okay, so why is it so intense? Why does staring at our own face feel so different from, say, staring at a photograph? Well, it all comes down to this really fascinating glitch in our brain's social programming.
It starts with these things called mirror neurons. These are the brain cells that are basically responsible for empathy. You know when you watch someone trip and you kind of flinch? Or you see someone yawn and suddenly you have to yawn too? That's your mirror neurons at work. They fire up to help you feel what other people are feeling. They are literally the foundation of human connection.
But here is the wild part. Here's the glitch. When you look at your own face in the mirror, those same neurons fire up. Your brain gets tricked. It starts treating your reflection like it's another person. It extends the same empathy to you that it would to a friend or a stranger. And that's why it's so hard to be truly mean to yourself when you're looking yourself right in the eye. You're short-circuiting your inner critic.
Okay, but it gets even weirder. Because if you lean into this, if you stare long enough, your brain's whole perception of you can start to, well, dissolve.
There's this amazing phenomenon called the strange face illusion. A psychologist named Giovanni Caputo did this experiment where he had people just stare at their own faces in a dimly lit room for about 10 minutes, and the things they reported seeing were, wow, just wild.
Seriously, people said they saw their faces morph into one of their parents' faces. Some saw straight-up monsters, or these ancient archetypal beings. I know, it sounds like the beginning of a horror movie, right? But what it actually reveals is something incredibly profound about who we think we are. So what's happening here? Well, it proves that our self-image isn't set in stone. It's not a fixed thing. What's really going on is that the part of your brain that recognizes faces, the same part that spots a friend across a crowded room, is getting overloaded by the same static image of you. It starts to glitch out. And this proves that yourself is kind of a story your brain is constantly telling itself. And if it's a story, well, you can change the ending, right? You can become the editor.
All right, so we've talked about the science, we've talked about the high-level weirdness, but how can we actually use this? How do we turn this from a trippy party trick into a practical tool? Let's get into it.
In therapy, they actually use this stuff. It's called mirror exposure therapy, and there are kind of three main ways to do it. First, there's the neutral approach. You just describe what you see, like a scientist. No judgment. The eyes are blue, there's a mole on the left cheek. Second, you've got the emotional approach. This one's tougher. You just look and you let whatever feelings come up. Just be there. You sit with them. And third, there's the positive focus. You actively look for things you genuinely like or appreciate about yourself.
But look, you can try a gentle version of this tonight. Here's a simple 5-step guide. 1. The soft launch. Just find a quiet moment, dim the lights a bit. 2. Set an intention. Something simple like, I'm just here to see who shows up. No pressure. 3. The scan. Just let your eyes wander over your face, from top to bottom, trying to stay neutral. 4, and this is the big one, the eye lock. Try to look directly into your own pupils, and maybe say something out loud, even just your own name. And finally, step 5, the exit. Before you turn away, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and notice one thing you felt or thought that had nothing to do with your appearance.
So what's the point of all this? Why does any of this actually matter? Because every single time you do this, even for 30 seconds, you are literally, actively rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. I love this metaphor. Think of your brain like a huge, grassy field. Every time you have a negative thought about yourself, I'm not good enough, I hate my nose, it's like you're walking the same path in that field. Over time, that path becomes a deep, muddy rut. It's the easiest path to take. Well, mirror work, it's like making a conscious choice to step off that rut and start walking a brand new path. At first it's hard, but the more you walk it, the clearer and easier that new, kinder path becomes.
And this isn't just theory, it has real-world impact. Take the story of Emma. She had severe cystic acne, and for years, looking in the mirror was like stepping into a war zone. But by doing this work, she slowly, so slowly, started to see things differently. The scars stopped being symbols of failure. They weren't flaws anymore. They just became her skin.
Or what about David? He was a concert cellist who had absolutely crippling stage fright. So he started practicing in front of a huge mirror, forcing himself to make eye contact with his reflection during the hardest parts of his music. And he had this breakthrough. He realized he couldn't possibly play for an audience of 1,000 people if he couldn't even stand to be in the presence of an audience of one, himself.
And it's not just about appearance. There was an executive, Sarah, who suffered from major imposter syndrome. Her trick, before every big meeting, she would go into the restroom, look herself in the eye, and it wasn't about ego or some big pump-up speech. It was about grounding. She would just look at herself and say, "You're here. You did the work. You belong." And I think this is the most important takeaway. This whole thing isn't about becoming vain. It's not about learning to love your reflection. The goal isn't to fall in love with the image in the glass. The goal is to use that image as a doorway, a portal, to connect with the actual person who is casting that reflection.
The famous psychologist Carl Jung had a great quote for this. He said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And really, the mirror is just a tool. It's the bridge that can help you get from one to the other.
So, tonight, or the next time you're in front of a mirror, what are you going to see? Are you just going to scan for the poppy seeds in your teeth? Or are you going to take an extra 30 seconds and actually look for the person? Give it a try. Who knows who you might meet?